In August 2005, a storm gathered in the Atlantic. It would become more than a hurricane. It would become a mirror held up to the wealthiest nation on Earth, revealing cracks in its infrastructure, its planning, and its very soul. This is the story of Hurricane Katrina. A story of natural force, human failure, indelible tragedy, and fragile hope. Part 1: The Approaching Storm. Born as a tropical depression on August 23, Katrina intensified rapidly. After crossing Florida as a Category 1, it found fuel in the Gulf of Mexico's warm waters. Here, it underwent a terrifying transformation. In just 12 hours, its pressure plummeted, and its winds roared to 175 miles per hour, a Category 5 monster, with its sights set on the Gulf Coast. The warnings were stark and urgent. The National Hurricane Center's director, Max Mayfield, made personal calls to local officials. Mandatory evacuations were ordered for New Orleans, a city sitting mostly below sea level, protected by a network of levees and floodwalls. But evacuation wasn't simple. Nearly 100,000 people had no access to a car. The city's contraflow plan to manage traffic was enacted late. Thousands sought shelter in the Louisiana Superdome, dubbed a shelter of last resort. The stage was set. A powerful storm was inevitable. But the true catastrophe was not. Part 2: The Cataclysm. On the morning of August 29, Katrina made its final landfall in Burris, Louisiana, as a strong Category 3. The Mississippi coast was devastated by a 28-foot storm surge, with communities like Biloxi and Gulfport scoured from the map. In New Orleans, there was a momentary sigh of relief. The eye had passed to the east. But the city's fate was being sealed by water, not wind. The storm surge had overwhelmed the city's flood defenses. Critical levees and floodwalls collapsed. Not from overtopping alone, but from fatal engineering flaws in their foundational walls. Water poured into the bowl of the city. Within 24 hours, 80% of New Orleans was submerged. In some areas, the water reached 20 feet deep. The world watched in horror as the crisis morphed from a natural disaster to a humanitarian nightmare. Tens of thousands were trapped in the city without food, water, or law enforcement. The Superdome and Convention Center became scenes of desperation. The question on everyone's lips was, where is the help? Part 3: The Failure and the Response. The response was catastrophically slow and mired in confusion. A breakdown at every level of government was exposed. Local and state authorities were overwhelmed. Critical supplies sat in warehouses. FEMA, the federal disaster agency, seemed paralyzed by bureaucracy and a lack of situational awareness. The phrase "heck of a job, Brownie" became a symbol of a detached federal response. In the void, heroes emerged. The U.S. Coast Guard executed over 33,000 rescues, their finest hour. Neighbors saved neighbors. And an unofficial armada of private boat owners, the now legendary Cajun Navy, charged into the city to pull people from the water. Their actions highlighted the failure of the official response. Part 4: The Aftermath and Legacy. The cost was staggering. Over 1,800 lives lost. 1 million people displaced. Economic damage exceeding $125 billion. But the statistics tell only part of the story. Katrina laid bare deep-seated issues of race, poverty, and inequality. The hardest-hit areas were predominantly poor and African American. The storm didn't create these inequities, it revealed them to the world. The legacy is complex. A new $14.5 billion federal levee system was built, engineered to withstand a 100-year storm. But New Orleans lost nearly half its population, and its cultural and social fabric was forever altered. The trauma persists. Katrina became a case study, a painful lesson in emergency management, infrastructure investment, and social justice. It proved that preparation and unified command are not bureaucratic buzzwords, they are the thin lines between survival and societal collapse. Hurricane Katrina was a pivot point in American history. It was a trauma born from the atmosphere, but amplified by human decisions made years, even decades, before the first clouds formed. It asks us uncomfortable questions we must keep answering. Who is most vulnerable when disaster strikes? What are we willing to invest to protect our communities? And ultimately, what does our response to suffering say about who we are? The storm passed in a day. The floodwaters receded in weeks. But the reckoning continues. Thanks for watching. If you want to dive deeper, I've linked to the definitive federal report and several survivor oral history projects in the description below. Let me know your thoughts or memories in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into history's defining moments.